Hey, what's up guys? Michael here from Team Mr. Cows, and today I'm coming at you with my first place Machina Infinitrack deck that I used to win the Cyber League Remote Duel Tournament hosted by YourMoveTCG. It was a 3-round single elimination event, so not the biggest, but my matchups were all pretty meta. It was round 1 Virtual World, beaten 2-1. Round 2 was against the Lolos Tri Brigade deck, or Bird Up as people call it. That was a 2-1 win. And then the final round I played against Zodiac Eldritch, and that was also a 2-1 win. In that final round, it was pretty tough though. I got drolled all 3 games. I couldn't combo, so the game came quite a grind state. It was a cool play that I did in the final match though, that I'll get to later. So today I'll just go over my main side and extra and just give a breakdown what I've got. It's pretty standard for the Machina Infinitrack deck list. I picked it up from Aerosol TCG. He's worth checking out. He's playing on, I think, Ceramenon's channel. He's done some events with it. And Billy Yu-Gi-Oh! That's another guy I follow who also gave some inspiration for some of the ideas in this deck. So the list's nothing too crazy in terms of what this build is, but I was pretty happy with the card choices I made. So starting with the monsters, 3 Metal Cruncher. This is one of your main starters, which 90% of the time you'll be using to reveal Brutal Dozer. This is like the card you want to get to, and you've got 12 cards in the deck that will gain access to this, either by searching Harvester or by searching the Metal Cruncher itself. 3 Harvester, play 3 because you want to open as consistently as possible. It's the best kind of opening hand that you want to have would be one of your starters plus the Brutal Dozer as well, because if people know what they're doing against this deck, they'll often ash your starter, which in some cases can just make you pass turn. But in other cases, if you've got Brutal Dozer or you've got Heavy Forward or just another extender, you can still get to a combo anyway. 2 Trencher, that's one of the extenders in the deck. It's your main target to get off Brutal Dozer, and it just revives in crucial grind game. Infinitrack Tunneler, this is what you're searching with Ancient Gearbox 99% of the time. The second target being Drill. Tunneler just sets up your combo and gives you lots of card advantage, and Drill is really good for follow-up plays. Speaking of, the 1 Ancient Gearbox, this is just searched with the Ancient Gear link and it's your extenders. In terms of rank 10 trains, just the 1 Bullet Train and the 1 Dairy Crane. Bullet Train searchable with Riverstorm as part of the combo, and Dairy Crane just as another access for another level 10 to go into, you know, Dora or Gustav if you're pushing for game. I've seen a couple of people running 3 copies of Dairy Crane in the deck. I think Barely Yu-Gi-Oh! Was one of them. And I tested with that at first because it is nice to like chain block Metal Cruncher or Brutal Dozer or the like so they can't get ashed. And I just found that I preferred having the space for more other options in the deck to keep it down to 40 than 3. I might test this at 3 in the future though. It's just that it sometimes sits there as a bit of a clunky body because this can't be licked off for Goliath or the like. And then for the final 2 machine monsters in the deck, we've got the Machina Fortress and Citadel. Fortress is just a good searchable extender and something nice to end on, because when it's popped, it'll destroy a battle, it'll pop a card in your opponent's field, and if they target it with a monster effect, you get to look at their hand first and rip a card out of it, which actually came up last night because the Zodiac player couldn't use Golden Lord to send this to grave. Citadel, then just there as one of your ending pieces, which most of the time you'll be summoning with Machina Overdrive. This is really good coming back every turn. And then last monster in the deck, 3 Ash Blossom. That's just there as a good generic hand trap. I think this is most versatile in terms of the meta at the moment. If I had more space for hand traps in the main, I'd probably be playing Nibiru as well, but instead I opted for Forbidden Droplet just because of things like VFD, and I was expecting to go up against Drytron, so maybe there was a possibility of running into like a Herald of Ultimateness that I need to deal with. Onto the spells. Oops. We got 3 Machina Redeployment. This is another one of your starters. Just gets access to Citadel, Metal Cruncher, Overdrive, or Fortress, depending on what you discard. The Don't mention 3 Forbidden Droplets. This is expensive, I know. So if you haven't got it, I'd recommend just playing, you know, Nibiru or another set of traps, like it could be Strikes or something like that. 3 Heavy Forward. Yet another starter / extender. The second effect of this to attach the material does actually come up quite often, because if you're doing things like bringing back Riverstormer, tributing off a Knuckle instead of a Goliath, then you can attach this to make the Riverstorm alive in future turns. 2 Urgent Schedule. It seems weird not playing this at 3, because I'm used to playing trains just as rank 10 going second beatdown with Revolving Switchyard and Night Express and the like. But because this is a going first deck, you don't necessarily want to be opening this all the time. I have the 3rd copy on the side to bring in when I'm going second, and if I'm against a control deck, I'll also bring it in going first, because it's really good in a grind against them. But yeah, I thought too was a nice balance between them, because going first and opening this is sometimes a bit dead. I did have the optimal situation last night for it, where my starter got gammered, and I had Urgent Schedule in hand, so obviously when they gamma you, you've got no monsters left and on your starter, and they control 2 monsters, so this was live. On trap cards, I was running 3 Torrential, Skill Drain and Imperial Order, and 3 Machina Overdrive. Overdrive and Torrential are really good at 3. I wouldn't change these at all, because this consistently gets you to Citadel, and its bounce effect just gives you insane grind. Torrential's good against like nearly every deck in the format. It's not the greatest against Drytron, because it obviously misses timing. You know, if a Drytron summons itself like from graveyard or hand and then does a secondary effect because you can't activate it. But I'd still run it. These were just like techs. I picked these up from Better Yu-Gi-Oh! And game 1 against Virtual World, when I resolved for combo with the tunnel, I draw into Imperial Order, and he opened a hand that was like Desires and Gate, so that really heavily hindered his turn. But I think going forward, I'll probably cut these. I think I might actually cut the Skill Drain for starters, because I did like the Imperial Order, but I think I'll test these 2 being at Trap Trick to get consistently to these a bit easier, because you really do want to see them, like especially the Overdrive. I had one situation where I had Skill Drain against the Virtual World player game 2, so I stopped his VFD and his follow-up, but it then meant that with the like 1 or 2 cards I had in hand, because I got Nibiru'd and Ashed, I think, on my first turn, he still managed to end on VFD and level 6 Synchro of some description, but the Skill Drain meant that I couldn't play through, because obviously my effects want to get it as well, and I didn't have a Knuckle Engrave to send it away. So it's tough, because like I got hit pretty hard starting, and my hand was weak, so if it had been stronger and I'd still been able to get to a good point in the combo, I would have been able to play through it. So yeah, I'll test it. Moving on to the extra deck, we play 3 copies of Goliath. You go through all of these in your first turn combo and shuffle them back to Tunneler. Same as Ballista. Knuckles there, like one of the main cards to get to on the deck. The tech option, I run the Blackluster Soldier Link, because it's really good against control decks, and in New Zealand we quite often have a lot of rogue, and this is just really good against rogue decks. Infinitrack XEs, I've got the Wind River Stormer and the Earth Slicer. Storm is part of the combo, and Slicer is really good as follow-up. Like, you can load this thing up to like 3 or 4 materials, like, you know, with the 2 9s you overlay with like Drill and Trencher being coming 9. Then you can attach a Goliath underneath it, and you can attach the Infinitrack spell under it as well. The one Dingirsu, this is for follow-up to normal summon the Drill, special the box from hand, make the mate, and go into Ding. Either descend away, or you can actually like attach Tunneler back as material, and then when Ding goes to graveyard or you use a protection effect, you can use the Tunneler again. The one VFD, I didn't make it last night, because the one time that I could make a rank 9, I was locked out of going into Darks because of Brutal Dose's effect, locking you into Earth Machines. But there are combos that you can do that if you start with Metal Cruncher and you get interrupted, you can still get access to another level 9 and just hard make the VFD that way. I'm playing this just because it's amazing. I don't like it. I hate this card. I hope it gets banned, but you know, while it's still legal, may as well abuse it. Interblathnia, it's another follow-up. Unfortunate that it's Earth, because again, if you get hand trapped early, you can't make it going first to like banish a card from your opponent's hand, but it's still good there just for a non-targeting banish to remove stuff. Onto the rank 10s, 1 Gustav, 1 Dora, and 1 Lieb. Yeah, I mean, it's not rank 10 trains, so you don't run more than 1 of these each. But the Gustav came up, game 3 against the Virtual World player. I had already Solemn Striked him, and we got to time, and I was on 6,500 life, and he was on 8,000, but I managed to make Gustav and burn him for game. And then finally, the one last card in the deck that any deck that is E-summon should be running was Zeus. Shoutouts Keegan for letting me borrow this at the last minute before the tournament. There was a really clutch play that I did in the final match against the Eldritch Zodiac player. He drolled me all 3 games, but my starter got ashed. I think my Trencher went through, my Dozer got ashed, so I wasn't locked out of Earth Machines, but I ended up managing to get Tunneler, Harvester, there we go, the level 2 and Bullet Train on field. I then used Harvester to make itself and the Bullet Train level 12 by adding their levels together. Then hard made Zeus, then put a Goliath underneath it because I tributed it off for a River Stormer that had also been interrupted in the combo. So that was under there, and I also had the Infinitrack spell as well. So I had a 4 material Zeus coming first and nothing else. He summoned a Zoo, and they summoned Thoroughblade and discarded Ram, so I used Droplet sending off the River Stormer because I didn't want him to draw into possibly the Eldritch Engine if he didn't have it, because I was in a rough spot. And then when he summoned Kong, I Zeused away his board. He also had Barrage, so then when he used Barrage to summon another Zoo, I Zeused again, and that left him with 1 card, which I later found out was just a Solemn Strike. And then from that point, I just sat there on Zeus and just swung a couple of times, because I didn't want to play into the back row. If it had been Torrential or something other back row wise, that would have punished me. Then moving on to the extra deck, the 1 Pancratops. This should be Duster, but I don't own one, so I just threw this in. 3 Nibiru and 3 Lancia. Nibiru's, great against any combo deck, and Lancia's really good too. It's great against Virtual World. It's also really good against Bird Up. I sided in against that deck and stopped him once. More spells. The 3rd Urgent Schedule, again going in 2nd against every deck and 1st against control matchups. And in control matchups, the Twins and a Reboot. So ideally this should be, like I said, this should be Duster just for a 5-card back row removal package, because when you're going 2nd, having 5 cards of a certain type, you've got a 70% chance to see one of them going 2nd. So I think it's a pretty healthy number. And then last but not least, I was on 3 Solemn Strike. These would often come out for the forbidden droplets and matchups where droplet wasn't, that useful, or if like Order or Drain weren't amazing. So yeah, I think the side deck was pretty well built. I didn't have any issues with the side. The main, I just want to test around the idea of the Trap Trick instead of the Order and Skill Drain. And I think the X deck I wouldn't change at all. So yeah, that was that. Shout outs to, obviously, Keegan again for loaning me the cards. Shout out to my opponents who I played against, especially Declan. The final was quite harsh. He debunked me at one point, and I hadn't seen that card in many, many years. And shout out Kiza at YourMoveTCG for hosting a great first remote duel event for New Zealand. Hopefully you play more. Cool, and see ya.